I had just finished arranging the table for what should have been my 55th wedding anniversary, a quiet, gentle ritual I still kept for Josh, even after the sea claimed him decades ago, when my phone buzzed with a message that froze my breath. Don't go to the wedding. Just that. No name. No explanation. But the weight behind it made the candle between the plates flicker as though it, too, sensed danger. Earlier that afternoon, I had laid out everything the way Josh loved. The delicate tablecloth I stitched when we were young, 2 crystal glasses engraved with our initials, and the wedding photo where his smile looked impossibly alive. I even set his chair across from mine, adjusting it the way he always preferred. Straight, sturdy, waiting. I was alone, but not lonely. Not until the footsteps came. My children barged in as if my little celebration were an offense. Brianna stared at the table like she'd walked into a crime scene. "You're decorating for a man who's been gone for half a century," she scoffed. "If you love honoring the dead so much, take this to the cemetery." Owen followed with his cold, clipped voice. "Mom, you're embarrassing yourself." And us. Then came Lexi, my granddaughter, phone already recording. "Guys, look at this." She laughed. Grandma's throwing a dinner party for a ghost. Their cruelty wasn't new, only sharper than usual. It all stemmed from petty resentments that I refused to sign off on Brianna's ridiculous online resort scheme, that I didn't let Lexi use Josh's wedding ring for a TikTok, that I stopped Noah from bullying the elderly neighbor. Each grievance they held was shallow. Yet together, their spite cut deep. Before leaving, Lexi tossed a chewed wedding invitation onto my plate. "Come if you want, but don't talk about tragic love stories. They ruin the vibe." I stayed seated long after they disappeared inside. The invitation, damp from some dog's teeth, felt like a final insult. My phone buzzed again. "If you show up, you won't come home." A threat, not a warning. I dialed the number, and a trembling voice whispered something that turned my blood cold. "Mrs. Holt, please don't go." I heard things. About the bridge. About you. One push. That's all they said it would take. My grip tightened on the phone. My own family wanted me gone. But what I discovered the next morning, hidden in Brianna's laptop, was far worse than any whispered threat. It was proof that my death wasn't just an idea. It was a plan. I barely slept that night. Every creak in the house felt louder, every shadow longer. I kept replaying the stranger's whisper in my mind. One push. That's all they said it would take. Who would say such a thing? Who would discuss my death so casually? By sunrise, the threat had settled into my bones like cold rain. But fear wasn't the only thing growing inside me. Suspicion was too. So I decided to do something my children never expected. I started observing them. Brianna was first. She stormed into the house, mid-morning, with the same self-important stride she always carried. She barely noticed me sitting in the living room. Instead, she went straight to her office, a room she claimed was for business deals, though everyone knew she conducted more gossip than business. But today, she wasn't gossiping. She was deleting something. Through the cracked door, I saw her frantically clicking, dragging files, emptying the trash. Her hands shook. She kept looking over her shoulder as if someone was watching. She didn't notice that I was. When she left for a spa appointment, leaving her laptop open on the desk, I slipped inside quietly. My heart pounded with guilt and dread, but the memory of that whispered threat pushed me forward. The screen was still on. A folder was still open. Holt wedding, final plans. I clicked it. My breath caught. Inside was a document titled Process After Incident. Bold, clear, printed. At first, I thought it was a safety protocol. But as I read, the truth hit me like a slap. It listed steps to take after a fatal fall at the wedding venue. Who to call first. What to say to the authorities. Which social posts to avoid. How to comfort guests without raising suspicion. Then I saw it. Ensure Eleanor Holt is known to be unstable before event. My name. Written in black ink next to a list of fabricated symptoms. Confusion, memory lapses, emotional volatility. None of it true. A narrative. A cover story. They were preparing the world to believe I lost my balance. Or worse, that I jumped. My hands shook so badly I had to grip the desk to stay steady. Then another tab caught my eye. A voice recording. With trembling fingers, I pressed play. Owen's voice filled the room. She's old. She trips over everything. The bridge railing is low. If she falls, it won't surprise anyone. Brianna replied sharply. Exactly. No suspicion. We just need her there. A coldness spread through my body so deep I had to sit down. They weren't planning my embarrassment. They weren't planning to exclude me. They were planning to erase me. But the most chilling part wasn't their plan, it was discovering the one person secretly helping them. Someone I trusted more than anyone left alive. I sat frozen in Brianna's office chair long after the recording ended. My breath shallow, my heartbeat loud enough to drown out the silence. The children I carried, fed, protected. The same children who once cried into my shoulder after nightmares were now calmly planning my disappearance as if it were a social errand. But the worst part was yet to come. I clicked on another file. A list titled, Possible Helpers. Names filled the screen. Some were crossed out with harsh red lines. But one name, highlighted in green, made my throat tighten. Lexi Holt. My granddaughter. My Lexi. The girl whose hair I brushed every morning before school. The girl who begged me to tell her bedtime stories even when she was too old for them. The girl whose tiny hands once held mine with such love. A fresh audio clip was attached beside her name. With trembling fingers, I pressed play. Lexi's voice, cold, detached, filled the room. Look. Grandma barely walks straight. All you need is a distraction. I'll get her to the bridge for the photos. After that, gravity does the rest. A soft laugh followed. Her laugh, my sweet child's laugh, twisted into something sharp. Owen's voice responded. You're sure she won't scream? Lexi shrugged. By the time anyone hears, she'll be underwater. I covered my mouth with my hand to stifle the sob that clawed its way up. My own granddaughter, helping them plan the moment my life would end. A buzzing in the hallway snapped me back into reality. Footsteps. They were home. I closed the laptop so quickly the screen rattled. My hands shook as I pushed the chair back into place and slipped out of the room as quietly as an old woman could. Every step felt like walking through water. Slow, heavy, desperate. Voices drifted down the hallway. I told you she's too nosy. Brianna snapped. We need to move faster. Faster. How fast? I crept to my room, shutting the door without a sound. My heart pounded against my ribs so hard it hurt. I sat on the bed, clutching the edge like it was the only thing tethering me to the world. Tears streamed down my cheeks, not just from fear, but from grief. The kind of grief that doesn't come from death, but from betrayal. How long had they been planning this? How many times had they practiced sounding innocent? How many times had I misread their glances, their whispers, their concern? A soft knock interrupted my thoughts. Grandma? Lexi's voice. Sweet, gentle, the same voice from my memories. I made you tea. Can I come in? I couldn't speak, couldn't think. But I knew one thing. If she came inside, I wouldn't survive the next few days. And that night, while everyone slept, I made a decision that would either save my life or end it sooner than they planned. That night, while the house fell quiet, I lay awake staring at the faint cracks in the ceiling. I traced them with my eyes as though each one were a path leading out of the nightmare my family had built for me. I knew I couldn't stay. Not another sunrise. Not another breakfast eaten across from the people planning to bury me beneath a lie. The clock glowed 2:13 a.m. when the house finally stilled. Even the refrigerator hummed softer, like it was afraid to make noise. I rose slowly from the bed, my bones creaking in ways that betrayed my urgency. But I had to move. I had to survive. I opened my closet and took out the only things that mattered. A photo of Josh, the ring he slipped on my finger on our wedding day. A small folded note he wrote during one of his ocean voyages. A note I'd read 1,000 times. Then I held my breath and crept toward the office. The house felt wrong. Too quiet. Too charged. I stepped carefully, avoiding the spots where the floorboards creaked. Inside the office, Brianna's laptop sat on the desk like a viper waiting to strike. I turned it on. The files were still there. Evidence of their plan, their greed, their willingness to sacrifice me for convenience. I transferred everything onto a small flash drive I kept hidden in my sewing box. If anything happened to me, the truth would not disappear with me. I slipped the drive into my pocket. My hands trembled, but not from age. From anger. Just then, footsteps. Not soft. Not cautious. Someone was walking down the hallway. Toward the office. My heart lurched. I turned off the laptop and backed into the corner behind the bookcase. The footsteps stopped right outside the door. A slow breath. A whisper. Lexi's voice. "Are you awake, Grandma?" She pushed the door open a few inches. The light from the hallway spilled in, slicing across the floor. I held my breath so tightly my lungs ached. She stepped inside, scanning the room. Her eyes passed over the desk, the chair, the shadows. And then she left, closing the door behind her. I waited 3 more minutes, long enough for her to return to her room, then slipped out like a ghost. I left the house with nothing but my purse, my documents, and the few pieces of Josh I had left. The cold air outside stung my cheeks, but it felt like freedom. I walked until my legs shook, finally reaching the bus stop at the edge of town. As I sat there, clutching the flash drive, I knew one thing. They would wake to an empty house. And they would panic, not out of love, but fear. Because they knew the truth was gone with me. And I wasn't finished. Because the next morning, when Brianna found a copy of their plan sitting in her email inbox, sent from an address she didn't recognize, she realized her biggest mistake wasn't planning my death. It was underestimating me.